All right. What can you say on this one? Um, I feel like I've done two videos pertaining to this game already with what's left to say, but I'm just fucking crushed, man. They deserve so much better than this. And I know it's like it veers into that moral victory territory when you start talking about, oh, they really tried so hard and they really fought and they were big underdogs and shorthanded and all this stuff. But it's true. I mean, the fucking like I came into this game and I thought, okay, we don't have much chance to win. I really didn't think they had much chance. I thought, maybe, you know, 5-10% chance to win. If your offense is really humming and maybe you get a couple big turnovers or something, and um, and then maybe you can pull off the upset. I mean, that's how teams pull off upsets on the road. Is you get a couple of big turnovers and stuff like that, and they kind of did. I mean, the offense was for the most part very good, and they did get a very big turnover. Um, it still wasn't enough. Um, but I mean, that fucking first half was amazing. I mean, and I know, like everyone, I shouldn't even, I should never read anything on any social media or anywhere on the internet after a game like this because people are vilifying Mike Zimmer like he, ran over their mother with his car or something. It's just insane. And I may be at this for a while. We'll get to the some of the decisions, but like I know it didn't he wasn't able to seal the deal with it. But considering how short-handed he is on defense and what he's working with, the rookies, the young guys, no Hunter, no Barr. Even if you just shut out Russell Wilson for a half, that's amazing to me. Because I mean, Russell Wilson is at the peak of his powers these days, and he's unstoppable. I mean, he's absolutely on that Mahomes, Rodgers level. I don't know what else you want to throw in there, but you know, he's indisputably like a top five quarterback, maybe even a top one. And his game plan was amazing. It was very reminiscent of that Saints playoff game from last year, where he created this amazing defensive game plan that shut down a hugely potent offense of a 13-win team on their home field. And that one, you know, obviously it's apples and oranges, but um, it was an amazing game plan, and it was tonight. Like he for all the shit Zimmer gets in this town and from this fucking fan base, like he knows his stuff. Like I've talked about on a couple of these videos and even in my blog, and I don't know one looks at either of them, but um, about just these little incremental improvements that you've seen with the defense so far. And this was like a leap. Like this was a big leap tonight. I mean, even with the way the game ended, this was the best game of the year for the defense. I mean, I don't think that can even be disputed. Because everybody went into this game thinking, okay, Russell Wilson's going to put up 40 or 50 points, including me. And, you know, he put up 27, and a lot of that was short fields. They had one real drive, and of course it was the one at the end. But, um, it was, you know, one of the criticisms that's always thrown at Zimmer during his tenure here is like, they don't come out ready to play on the road. Not the case tonight. They came out to play. They really were well prepared for this game on both sides of the ball. Like, I wanted them on offense to be a little more, go for broke, just chuck the ball around. I mean, hell, Cousins didn't even throw. He only threw maybe a couple deep balls the whole game. It was just a lot of, shorter stuff, but it worked. Like, it used like that touchdown drive where he threw to like 6 different guys and they ran it, and offensive line looked good. Like, it was like that's exactly like that's a perfect formula to win games like this. I mean, so it wasn't the formula I necessarily expected, or wanted, but like it was working. Like, I mean, you look back now, that fucking touchdown that they almost got at the end of the first half, guy made a great play to knock the ball away from Thielen. It would have been 17-0. I mean, you don't know exactly how the game's going to go from that point on, but I mean, obviously you lost by 1 point, and that play cost you 4 points. So, and then that fucking third quarter, man, was just that. I mean, that was like 21 points in like 2 minutes or something, because you get you come out first. I think it was the first play of the third quarter, and Cook gets his he pulled a groin thing. They're gonna have. I saw they're gonna do an MRI tomorrow. He's probably not gonna play next week. It's just a hunch. I mean, but I mean, he did come back and try to play. I think he was only in for one play. But I mean, it was just like it was just so fucking fast, because Seattle got the ball. We stopped them again. I think that was the drive we got 2 sacks. It looked like, okay, this is just gonna keep going. Then we get the ball. Cook gets hurt. We didn't do anything with that drive. Punt. They go zipping down the field. Of course, it was a bad punt again. That was the good punt. That was the good punt, and we didn't have very good coverage, and they ended up almost at midfield. So short field. They just zip right down the field in like 4 plays, score a touchdown. Then we get the what was the order? Well, there were the 2 turnovers, the 2 Cousins turnovers, the interception. I mean, look, that was a ridiculous play to make that interception. The guy goes up 1 minute, like he's got Stickum, and just, I mean, that was like Odell Beckham with one hand grabbing the ball. Like, you could say, oh, Kirk shouldn't have thrown the ball. How often is that play going to be made? I mean, that was an insane play to make that interception. You got to, I mean, it was just fucking, it was a great play. I mean, what else is like, a lot of this stuff, the shit that happened to the Vikings tonight is because the other guy just made the great play. Like, and then the fumble, there were 2, the play at the very end of the game, his arm was starting to go for it, and the ball, like, a split second later, that's an incomplete pass, or a pass maybe that's caught by somebody. Instead, they hit him just early enough to make it a fumble. I mean, like, has there ever been a game in recent memory where it just was not fucking meant to be? But I mean, second touchdown, boom, they score right away. And then the third one, I think, was the one where they ran it in, and it was just a terrible time. At that point, it's 21-13 in a blink. It's gone from 13-0 to 21-13 in literally like 2 minutes and change. Like, it was something like that. Like 2 minutes, it took them to score 3 touchdowns. Just insane. So at that point, everyone's thinking, okay, it's gonna just get ugly this is going to be ugly, ugly second half, and we're probably going to get run out of the stadium like 40-13 or something. But they fucking responded. Like they didn't fucking cave in and melt down. Like they didn't. You have back-to-back turnover drives. You've lost Cook. I mean, at that point, he was definitely not coming back in. And get the ball, go right down the field. Really nice drive. That was the gosh, I forget now. I should have checked the fucking box score. I think that was at the Thielen touchdown. I think Thielen got the 2 touchdowns, right? They got the touchdown. They didn't get the 2, but like they responded. Then they played had a pretty good defensive series. They stopped them. They drove a little bit, but they didn't get it in field goal range. And then they punted it, and they get down to like the 2-yard line. And we drove 98 fucking yards to take the lead in the fourth quarter. Like, and that was definitely the Thielen one. Like, that's amazing to me. I'm sorry. Like, I know people are gonna shit on Kirk Cousins too. Like, I don't even know how to interact with these fucking people anymore. Like, they're gonna just shit on Kirk Cousins because he had a couple turnovers, but yeah, he also responded to the turnovers with 2 long touchdown drives to retake the lead on the road against a really good team. And fuck, man. I mean, that's why I'm seeing again immediately after the game calls for Zimmer to be fired. Fuck off. Fuck you if you think Mike Zimmer should be fired. Go fucking drown yourself in a lake. I fucking hate you people. Like, you don't fire. I mean, I've had a couple coaches fired in the NFL recently. You're not gonna fire. You can't make the argument that these guys aren't playing for Zimmer. You cannot, because they fucking fought back. Like, I know it's like, oh, they're supposed to do that. Well, so many teams, even Vikings teams, even recent Vikings teams, absolutely implode at 21-13 with what's going on in that game. They didn't. They fought like this team is super fucking shorthanded, especially on defense. They're getting no fucking luck. I mean, but they got a lot of heart, and I know no one gives a shit, because everyone's a fucking jackass on the internet, and they're making jokes about about all these guys and shit, and like, but it's like, it matters. Like, it sounds fucking corny, but it matters if a team has heart. This team has heart. They may not have the talent to do it this year, and even if they did, they're 1-4 now, so it might not matter. But like, I don't think they fight back from 21-13, given what's happening, if Zimmer isn't a good coach who can really get these guys, can really get these guys to play, and they don't, trust me, if this team fucking hated Zimmer, they would have just laid down at 21-13. But they go down, they get the 2 touchdowns, and it's like, it's like, never not thinking like, okay, Russell Wilson's still gonna beat us. It's like, 21-19, okay, Russell Wilson is still gonna beat us. 26-21, Russell Wilson is still gonna beat us. And of course, then people bitching about Zimmer only going for the PAT on the second touchdown. But that would not have mattered. People don't get this. Like, if you go, alright, fucking hell. If you go for the like, the first 2, you're definitely going for that, because at that point you're trying to tie the game. The second one, was 25-21. You kick the PAT. It's just 5 5-4 is not a big difference. But um, if you went for the 2 there, the way things worked out, then at the end of the game, Seattle isn't going for their 2. They're just kicking the PAT and beating you. So you're not. I know people think like that. For some reason, this has happened before. People think that these things cost in the game. Like no, because you do it differently here, and then the next thing plays out differently. Like Seattle would have just kicked the PAT at the end, and the final score would have been what was the score? 27-26. It would have been 28-27. So it would have made no difference whatsoever. And then like as they've made this comeback, then they had stopped Seattle when they punted right before the 98-yard drive. Seattle gets the ball back. Eric Wilson makes an amazing play to get an interception. And at that point, I'm just euphoric because I'm like, yes! They got the ball. They got all the momentum. They really have worn down Seattle's defense at this point. There's only like 5 minutes left. Like, we fucking win this game. And they drive down, and we're right there. It's 4th and 1. Everyone who is ripping Zimmer for going for the 4th and 1 is wrong. You're just wrong. It's Captain Hindsight bullshit, and I'm sorry, but seeing how it all played out. Okay, then you kick the field goal. Well, guess what? You kick the field goal there. Seattle still drives down, beats you. Hell, Seattle didn't even use their timeout on their final drive until the very, very end. And that was just kind of like to set up a play. Like they wouldn't even have necessarily had to do that. So you could say, oh, maybe they don't get the 2. Well, maybe they do get the 2. I mean, you get the feeling watching this like it was just not meant to be. So because everyone who's ripping Zimmer right now, and will probably rip Zimmer in the days to come for going for the 4th and 1, would have savaged the guy if he kicks the field goal there and Seattle ties it up and it goes to overtime and they lose. And Vikings lose in overtime. And every single person who's ripping Zimmer right now would have been ripping Zimmer for doing the opposite. It's like, you gain 1 yard, you win. Like, you think you can get the 1 yard. You should. I don't know why they. I mean, you can argue with the play call. I mean, it wasn't like any sort of brilliant play call. I like the play call, the play before that, where they did this kind of like reverse to Thielen, and Thielen, I thought was going to waltz into the end zone, and he gets tripped up just short. In retrospect, you almost wish maybe that play hadn't worked out and he'd been tackled for a loss. Then you do kick the field goal, but because you got to kick the field goal. But I mean, I don't know. I don't like. I wanted them to be aggressive. I wanted them to really play to win, and they played to win, really, for almost the whole game. And even at the end there, they weren't playing like a prevent really. They went after Russell Wilson. He just beat him. I mean, fuck can you do? But it's like the 4th and 1. You watch the play, like it just kind of barrels into the line. If he leaps, I was thinking Madison loves to leap. He loves to jump over guys. If he had jumped, he gets it easily. But I mean, like again, it's just you get the feeling it just wasn't fucking meant to be, and it's kind of this whole season. It seems like it wasn't fucking meant to be with all the shit that's gone wrong for the Vikings. I mean, but then the story of the game is those 4th downs, because you get the 4th and 1, you don't make it. Then you got Seattle 4th and 10. Wilson basically throws up a Hail Mary. I mean, you can say that was a plan to throw it that way, but like, you know, Dancer fucking kind of overran the receiver, but like it's almost like an indefensible play. I mean, even if he was there, he probably gets caught anyway because that's just how the fucking night went. And then you get him to a 4th and goal, and it was a really good catch. You know, it wasn't even bad coverage. So I don't know. Like I just, it's just, it's almost one of these things like are we destined to always lose these games to Seattle? Like we've been competitive with Seattle, and I know it's like, you know, like all these games during the years when Seattle's been good. Like we've been right there with them on almost every game except for that fucking one at TCF, the regular season before the playoff game, where they came in and just kicked the shit out of us. But like, I mean, it's like we're just snakebit against that franchise, you know. But I mean, it's fucking heartbreaking because they really, they really fucking deserve that win, and the way they came back like they did, and just to lose it is just, it's like I would, even you watch back the highlights, like they almost had the touchdown with like 30 seconds left. Well, in retrospect, hell, that would have been nice if they had just scored then, because then the Vikings would have had some time maybe to respond, like because they really didn't. We had time for like, you know, maybe a miracle play, but I mean, it's just one of these things like you start adding it up, and all the things that had to go just so for the Vikings to lose this game, and I mean, you just feel like it wasn't meant to be, and like they deserve better. This was one of the, this would have been one of the biggest upset wins they've had in a long time. I mean, this would arguably would have been a bigger upset than the playoff game last year. Um, and would it have saved their season? I don't know. I mean, they would have been 2-3. Um, obviously lost another game in the conference and to a playoff contender. I don't think it's gonna come down to tiebreakers with them. But I mean, you look at it now, it's just like, I'll say this: I could see this team going on a run because they've figured stuff out. Like even Kubiak, I've been very very hard, obviously, on Gary Kubiak so far this season, but he's figured stuff out. Like he's figured out what he's doing a little more. Like you know, I think other than that just brief little part tonight where right after Cook went out, where they were kind of a little discombobulated, like they were in complete control of this game on offense. Like they were doing exactly what they wanted to do. And if different 4th and 1 outcome, like that might be the story of the game, was the offense and how they really produced. And I'm sure people are doing the fucking Kirk Cousins in prime time thing again, but like Kirk was really good tonight. I'm sorry, like I know it's like a fucking broken record, and it makes it so frustrating. Like, okay, he had a pick and 2 fumbles. Like again, the fumbles, if he's hit a second later, those are incomplete passes, or maybe completed passes, and the interception was a really good play by the Seattle player. It's just, it's just snakebit. It's just a snakebit fucking season. I mean, I know they got the win last week, but like even that, like Like, just go back. Just they've been hit as hard by COVID and all the losing the off season and the preseason. Like, that's hit them as hard as anybody with losing reps and experience and stuff, and then all this other shit, like the Hunter shit, losing Hunter and Barr and losing cornerbacks and having this fuck all these fucking close games now that you know. I mean, like they could be 3-2, but they could. I mean, I guess you could say they could also be 0-5 if maybe the touchdown isn't overturned last week. It's just like it's obviously it's just not meant to be this year for the Vikings. I mean, and I kind of knew that even before this game, but then it's like we have the opening to maybe get back into this because like they win this, they won this game tonight. They're 2-3. Coming into the season, I was like, if they can get out of the first 5 games 2-3, I think they can do something. I think they can be a playoff team. I mean, you know, it's still possible. I mean, um, but I mean, the schedule is not brutal. I'm looking up the schedule right now. Because you got Atlanta now this next week. I think they can win that. Although it sucks that now they fired Dan Quinn the week before they play us, because teams usually get a bit of a spark from a coaching change, like the Texans won today. Um, um, so is it going to be the same Atlanta next week? But I still think like the effort they showed tonight, and again they figured some stuff out. They've you know um, they can play. But yeah, so what do we got here? And then they got Green Bay after that. So it's gonna be tough to beat Green Bay. I mean, it just is, especially in Green Bay. But then you get Detroit, you get the Bears. I mean, and that's the at Chicago, which I mean, Soldier Field is a house of horrors, but I mean, they've one of these years we gotta fucking beat the Bears, right? So, and we got Dallas, Carolina, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, the Bears and Lions again, and then the Saints. I mean, like it's not like a murderer's row. Like they can win some games, but it's like again, you're 1-4, and you can be 1-4 and make the playoffs. I think you got to get to 10 wins probably, and can they go the rest of the way and only lose 2 games? I mean, it's possible if this is the year we can beat the Bears, if we can beat Matt Nagy, maybe, but it just is this. It's just this fucking season feels Snakebit like. But that's why I look at it like they're really they're really showing a lot of heart that they can be in these games. They can be in a game, and I know it wasn't in front of the 12s, but to be on the road in prime time, in the rain against Seattle team that I know they got some problems on defense but I still think Seattle might be the NFC favorite for the Super Bowl, and you're right there in that game, and like three fourth down plays all go against you in the last 2 minutes. But it just wasn't fucking meant to be. Like, again, I don't think this isn't a Super Bowl season. They're not going to the Super Bowl. Maybe they're not winning the division. There maybe would be a wild card, and then obviously like wild cards rarely go on a run, but it's just fucking frustrating, man, because this was not the game I expected. I really expected it to be a game that they were able to put up some points, but they were we're going to be outclassed, and they really weren't. They weren't outclassed. They were right there with arguably the best team in the NFC. And just the fucking Fates, man, didn't let him have it. And you know, it's fucking heartbreaking because you know you don't get chances like this to get these kinds of wins very often, and you know to let it slip away, and you know you do, you know game of inches, you know guys a little guys reaches a little less, Thielen gets a touchdown before the half. Got, you know, guy jumps a little late. There's not an interception on Cousins. It's like, it's just all these fucking things, man. They're haunting. But I mean, but again, like the people trashing Zimmer, just shut the fuck up because he made the right call on 4th and 1. You know, it didn't work out. Sometimes you make the right call and it just doesn't work out. And this was just one of those nights where nothing fucking worked out in the end. But goddamn, I'm almost out of recording time. I'm really going on and on here. But so, I mean, brutal loss, tough loss. I mean, you know, it's better than those first 2 weeks. We look like one of the worst teams in the NFL first 2 weeks. I mean, we have one of the worst records, but we're not one of the worst teams. Like they're going to win some games this year, and then, of course, all the tank people are back, and they can go fuck themselves too. But you know, we've been through it all. Many games that seem to be won only to be lost. We'll get through it. So, yeah, next week, Atlanta, back at the Purple Palace. No fans, unfortunately. They announced, I think it was the last week, that they're still not going to have fans there. But, I mean, we can beat Atlanta. Hopefully we can beat Atlanta, you know. But, yeah, this one's going to take a while to get over. I may even have trouble sleeping tonight. But, you know, maybe I'll bash my head into the wall and that'll put me to sleep. So, hey, what can you do? Gave it our best shot and got beat by one of the best teams and definitely one of the best players. I mean, you know, it sounds corny, but I'm proud of the Vikings. Honestly, they really exceeded my expectations tonight and showed a lot of heart. And, you know, I wish they had received a real reward for their efforts, but you know, they're still my guys. Skull.